أجمعين ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. I just wanted to comment on the beautiful ayah about fasting in Surah Baqarah, verse number 183. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. O you who believe, fasting has been decreed upon you as it was decreed for those before you, that you may attain salvation and God consciousness, as the word taqwa is translated. So important thing to know is whether it is the Muslims or the previous nations, everyone had a concept of fasting among them. And it is a very beneficial practice, and it allows us to connect to our soul, to the other part of our creation, apart from the body that gets neglected throughout the year. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us an opportunity to focus and talk about and work on the soul, which has been neglected throughout the year, and that cannot be done other than through the food of the soul, which is the Quran. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, about the Quran, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَلَا يَزِيدُ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. And we have sent down for the people the Quran, that which is a healing and a mercy for the believers, but it does not increase the wrongdoers except for in loss. So this is a book that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed in the month of Ramadan, and it is a blessed book that we have been blessed with. The biggest miracle that a believer has is the miracle of the Quran. And it is a shifa, it is a healing of all sorts: physical healing, spiritual healing, emotional healing, psychological healing, and it is a rahmah, a mercy for the believers. And a lot of people lose out on that mercy because they're not connecting to the Quran. So, whenever you hear from the youth or working with people who are having doubts about Islam, if you really ask them deep down, have they actually connected to the Quran anytime recently, or have they been going to the masjid? These two things make a big impact in the way we start thinking about the world around us. Because if we're not connected to the people who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through coming to the masjid, and we don't believe, we don't connect with the Quran, then obviously there's going to be doubts in it. And one of the youth we were talking about, he's having a lot of waswasa and a lot of doubts. So we were talking about the end part of the Quran, and it's beautiful how Allah connects the beginning and the ending of surahs. And this was just a reflection that came upon me as we were talking about the waswasa of the shaitan. In Surah Nas, it talks about how the shaitan would give you waswasa and whispers to take you away from the path of Allah. And then the beginning of the Quran says that this is the book, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ, that there is no doubt in it. So if you want to remove those whispers, then you have to go back to the Quran. So subhanAllah, a couple of beautiful hadith to end with. Uthman radiallahu anhu reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, the best of you. So whenever there is the Prophet telling us this is the best of people, we should really, focus on that. And the Prophet said, the best of you are the ones who learn the Quran and then they teach it to others. So whether that's to my own family, at whatever capacity we have the knowledge, we all should know Surah Ikhlas, Surah Fatiha. These are things a lot of people don't know. A lot of Muslims, we can teach that to them and get the reward of every time they practice that. Also, the Quran, the Prophet ﷺ said in a very interesting hadith reported by Ahmed, that if the Quran was to be gathered inside of a vessel, and he's talking about the heart, meaning you memorize it, it's part of you, it becomes part of your personality, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never punish that vessel in the hellfire. So this is the benefit, and that's why the person who's called a hafil is someone who is protecting the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Because the main preservation of the Quran is through memory. So a hafiz of the Quran is the one that is protecting the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from being changed and altered. And that is why there's going to be extra hifadha and extra protection for that person who's protecting the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the aspiration to become a hafiz of the Quran, and even if we only know a little bit, Allah inshallah will lift us. If death comes upon a person and he's only memorized a little bit of the Quran, but his intention was to do the whole Quran, inshallah Allah will raise them up as hufaz of the Quran. This is the beauty of Islam, is about your intention and your effort. Whether you get there, that's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You just put your best effort. And if something stops you from that and is out of your control, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will still give you the reward for what you had intended. So we ask Allah to make this beautiful month of Ramadan a month of consciousness, of taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of becoming among the shakirin, among those who are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and among the people of the Quran who try to absorb the Quran at the level where it affects their heart and impacts their personalities. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.